When you think of Georgia, you probably picture peaches, southern charm, or the bustle of Atlanta. But beyond the cliches is a different side, one filled with breathtaking towns that won't drain your wallet. In this video, we're uncovering the most beautiful and affordable places to live in Georgia. And who knows, one of them might just feel like home. Number 10. Albany. There's a Georgia town where the statue of Ray Charles doesn't just sit quietly, it performs. At Ray Charles Plaza, a bronze of the legend leans into his piano while the sidewalk beneath your feet lights up like keys, turning the whole park into a living jukebox. That's Albany, soulful, quirky, and full of little surprises. Nicknamed the Good Life City, Albany's 66,000 residents know that the phrase isn't some marketing gimmick. It's the way they live. Housing is budget-friendly, with median home prices between $135,000 and $160,000, and rent for a two-bedroom is usually $900 to $1,000. Groceries fall on the lower end too, averaging $300 to $350 per month, which means your budget stretches enough to cover life's essentials and the fun. And trust us, there's plenty of fun. Albany has one foot planted firmly in culture. The Albany Museum of Art showcases one of the Southeast's most impressive collections of sub-Saharan African works. The Thronatisca Heritage Center packs science, history, and even a planetarium into a beautifully preserved 1913 train depot. And when the sun sets, the Flint River Entertainment Complex is where nights come alive with symphonies, concerts, and Broadway-style theater. The other foot stands in pure natural wonder. Radium Springs Gardens, one of Georgia's 7 natural wonders, bubbles with crystal blue water that stays a steady 68 degrees year-round. Just across town, families wander through the Flint River Aquarium, watching native fish, playful turtles, and the occasional alligator glide beneath the surface of a living blue hole spring. And if you ever get restless, a short drive takes you to the Jimmy Carter National Historic Site, or Wild Adventures theme park for a day of roller coasters and safari rides. Albany proves you don't have to choose between affordability, culture, and natural wonder. You can live in the middle of all three. But if Albany is soulful and surprising, wait until you see the next city, where a Victorian hotel still rules downtown like it's 1892. Number 9. Americus. Step into Americus, and it feels like you've slipped through time. At the heart of downtown rises the Windsor Hotel. Its red brick, turrets, and sweeping 5-story atrium still commanding the skyline like it did in 1892. Walk inside, and you'll hear echoes of Victorian grandeur, gilded staircases, ornate woodwork, and balconies that look straight out a Southern drama. Just a block away, oak-lined streets spill into antebellum porches and columned homes, turning an afternoon stroll into a walk through living history. However, Americus isn't just about pretty facades. This town of roughly 14,700 wears its history with honesty. In the fight for civil rights, Americus was a front line. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was jailed there, and the Leesburg Stockade, where dozens of young black girls were wrongfully imprisoned, remains a solemn reminder that even small towns carry the weight of big struggles. But Americus has more than history up its sleeves. It gave rise to an idea that touched the world: Habitat for Humanity. Founded in Americus, it grew from local mission to global movement. And its Global Village and Discovery Center lets you wander model homes from around the world. That spirit of connection also birthed Cafe Campesino, Georgia's first fair trade coffee roaster, bridging Latin American farmers with neighbors sipping lattes on Lamar Street. Today, Americus balances its past with a thriving cultural life. The Rylander Theater, restored to its original gold leaf glow with a ceiling painted like a starry night, hosts plays and concerts that light up downtown nights. The Sam, short-line excursion train, rumbles out in vintage style, carrying passengers through countryside that feels timeless. And just down the road in Plains, presidential history quietly hums in the hometown of Jimmy Carter. The real surprise? You can enjoy all this history and culture at prices well below the state average. Homes here run about $130,000 to $160,000, and rent averages just $750 to $800 a month. For a town steeped in history, culture, and global reach, that's a deal that feels almost unreal. And if America stretches across continents, wait until you see the next city. Each spring, it turns completely pink, and you'll never look at cherry blossoms the same way again. Number 8. Macon. What if you woke up one morning and your whole city had turned pink? In Macon, that's not some dream. It's March. Every spring, 300,000 Yoshino cherry trees explode into bloom, draping the trees in cotton candy clouds. For 10 days, the International Cherry Blossom Festival takes over with lantern tours, parades, concerts, and air shows. They don't call it the pinkest city on earth for nothing. But the magic of Macon doesn't vanish when the petals hit the ground. It just changes beat. This is the birthplace of Otis Redding, Little Richard, and the Allman Brothers Band, artists who didn't just make music, they rewrote its history. Here's the surprise. Despite all this energy and culture, it remains affordable. Homes average $160,000 to $190,000, and a 2-bedroom rental usually runs $900 to $1,100 per month. For a city of more than 235,000 people, with universities, a buzzing downtown, and festivals year-round, that's a price tag that feels almost too good to be true. But Macon's story isn't just music and blossoms. Downtown has transformed into a creative hub, with indie galleries, murals splashed across brick walls, and restaurants humming late into the night. The Grand Opera House, standing since 1884, still fills its ornate halls with applause, while Mercer University anchors the city with Gothic towers and academic life. Then there's Macon's deeper heartbeat, one that stretches back 17,000 years. Okmulgee Mounds National Historical Park preserves ancient ceremonial earthworks, connecting today's city to civilizations that thrived long before. And if you want quiet, Amerson River Park offers trails, kayaking, and wide-open greens along the Okmulgee River, a natural pause button just minutes from downtown. Because in Macon, the blossoms might fade, but the music, the history, and the energy, they never stop. Number 7. Columbus. Only in Columbus can you crash through roaring rapids, zip line into another state, and still be back downtown in time for dinner. This city of just over 200,000 people is Georgia's second largest, but it doesn't sprawl like Atlanta. Instead, it rushes forward, carried by the pulse of the Chattahoochee River. The river is the heartbeat here. The 22-mile river walk curls along its edge, perfect for joggers, cyclists, or anyone lingering over coffee with a view. But step off the trail, and suddenly the calms give way to chaos. The world's longest urban whitewater course runs right through the city center. Beginners ease into the gentle stretches, while the fearless dive straight into Class 5 rapids that thunder just a stone's throw from the restaurants lining downtown. And if that doesn't get your heart racing, the Blue Heron zip line literally launches you across the river into Alabama before slinging you back into Georgia again. It's a state line crossed not by car, but by adrenaline. Yet Columbus isn't only about thrills. It's also about a city that reflects. The Columbus Museum, the largest art and history museum in Georgia, anchors the city's cultural side. The National Civil War Naval Museum tells the story of battles once fought on these waters, while the Black Heritage Trail weaves through powerful landmarks that celebrate resilience and achievement. And the best part? You don't need a big city paycheck to make Columbus home. Houses often sell for $140,000 to $170,000, and rent hovers between $1,000 and $1,500. For a city that offers this much adventure and depth, that's a budget-friendly surprise. When it's time to exhale, Columbus doesn't disappoint. Standing Boy Creek Park stretches over 1,500 acres of forest, lakes, and trails, a natural escape just minutes away. Or stroll the Fall Line Trace, a 12-mile greenway that threads through neighborhoods, parks, and history alike. Our next city is known all over the world, but not for the reason you think. Number 6. Augusta. Say the word Augusta, and most people picture 1 week in April, the Masters. The Augusta National Golf Club turns into hallowed ground, with azaleas blazing, emerald greens glowing, and the world's best golfers chasing history. But here's the thing. Augusta doesn't pack up when the final trophy is raised. This city has a story far bigger than a single week of golf. Founded back in 1736, Augusta is one of Georgia's oldest cities, and its history still lives in the streets. Broad Street stretches wide, framed by antebellum homes and Art Deco facades that refuse to be forgotten. The Imperial Theater has been dazzling audiences since 1918, while the sound of James Brown, the godfather of soul, born right here, still hums through the sidewalks and speakers. You just don't see history here. You feel it in the rhythm of the city. But Augusta isn't trapped in the past. Downtown has reinvented itself with colorful art galleries, boutique shops, and cafes that buzz long after dark. The Miller Theater, once a vaudeville hall, now fills the night with symphonies and concerts. Augusta & Company pours local wine and shows of artisan finds, proving that this is a city where heritage blends with creativity and new energy flows back into old brick. Want to see Augusta at its most alive? Start by heading to the river, the Savannah Riverwalk. Families wander as music drifts from the amphitheater and sunsets spill gold across the water. Just beyond, the Augusta Canal carries you past old mills on replica boats, a moving postcard of the city's past. And if you crave something wilder, Finizzi Swamp Nature Park opens into 1,100 acres of wetlands where herons stalk and dragonflies glitter, all just minutes from downtown. Think you'd need a champion's wallet to live here? Not even close. Median homes run $170,000 to $200,000. Rentals land between $800 and $1,200, and you've still got 31 golf courses at your doorstep. Add in Augusta University, Fort Gordon, and a thriving medical hub. Together, they make Augusta a city that balances sport, history, nature, and affordability better than most. Before we move on, don't forget to leave a like and tell us in the comments. If you could pick one city in Georgia to call home, which one would it be? Number 5. Athens. Some towns paint murals. Athens writes music. Even if you don't realize it, you've heard its soundtrack. REM rehearsing in a cramped back room. The B-52s launching new wave into the world. Widespread panic turning local stages into legend. This isn't just a city where music happened. This is where music was born. And with nearly 129,000 people calling it home, the beat hasn't stopped yet. You feel it the moment you step downtown. Guitar pick plaques of the Athens Music Walk of Fame glint beneath your feet. Step into a bar on a Tuesday night, and chances are a band's playing their heart out like it's a Friday. And if you really want to see Athens flex, come during AthFest. Suddenly, the entire is one giant stage. Families, students, and travelers packed shoulder to shoulder. Guitars wailing, lights flashing, the crowd singing as one. Athens doesn't believe in quiet weeks. But creativity here isn't only plugged into an amp. Wander the 300 acres of the State Botanical Garden of Georgia, where wildflower meadows bloom like brushstrokes across a canvas. Or take a slow walk through the University of Georgia's historic campus, where leafy quads and brick halls hum with student life. And when you need a pause, Sandy Creek Nature Center offers lakeside trails and quiet breathing space, proving that even a city buzzing with energy knows when to slow the tempo. Can a city feel this alive and still stay affordable? Athens proves it can. Homes here usually range from $280,000 to $350,000, and rentals average $1,000 to $1,200. For a place with this much culture, that's like getting front row seats without paying stadium prices. And we can't leave without talking about the food, because in Athens, it's just as bold as the music. At the Last Resort Grill, praline chicken lands that perfect sweet savory harmony, while fried green tomatoes bring southern roots with a modern twist. Athens never misses a beat, and when the music fades, our journey carries us to Georgia's most enchanting city, where history, magic, and southern charm collide. Number 4. Savannah. What do cobblestone streets, moss-draped oaks, and a city plan dreamed up in 1733 all have in common? You'll find them alive and well in Savannah, Georgia. The city of about 148,000 feels like a living museum, but one that doesn't just sit behind glass. Savannah's historic district is one of the largest national historic landmark districts in the country, and walking through it feels like stepping into a novel. James Oglethorpe's original grid of 22 leafy squares is still intact, each framed by live oaks and Spanish moss that sway like lace curtains in the breeze. On Johnson Square, history whispers from the Federal-era facades, while just around the corner, Gothic Revival spires pierce the skyline. Monterey Square might look like it belongs in a movie, but this isn't a city frozen in amber. Culture hums in every direction. Literary pilgrims still stop at the Flannery O'Connor Childhood Home, while art lovers roam the Telfair museums and students of history gather at the First African Baptist Church. Even the old Central of Georgia Railway Roundhouse tells its story in brick and steel. Then there's the beating, creative heart of the city, SCAD, the Savannah College of Art and Design. Thanks to its influence, Savannah doesn't just preserve beauty, it creates it. Festivals splash colors on sidewalks, murals rise on forgotten walls, and events like Chalk of the Town turn streets into open-air galleries. When you need to catch your breath, Savannah gives you green space with a flourish. Forsyth Park sprawls at the edge of downtown, with its famous fountain spraying under mossy canopies. Beyond, Tybee Island offers salty breezes and sandy toes, just a short drive away, while coastal marshlands stretch out like watercolor paintings at sunset. And if you're lucky enough to wander Jones Street, often called the prettiest street in America, you'll see why so many people fall under Savannah's spell. Now, here's the secret. You don't have to be a millionaire to call this hostess city of the South home. Median houses run between $260,000 and $330,000, and a two-bedroom rental averages around $1,000 to $1,200 a month. Number 3. Dalton. You may not have set foot in Dalton, but chances are you've stepped on its work every single day. Tucked in the Appalachian foothills with just under 35,000 residents, Dalton proudly carries the title Carpet Capital of the World. More than 150 flooring plants call it home, weaving not just carpets, but generations of livelihoods. But the city's story doesn't end at the factory door. Downtown's commercial historic district still wears its Italianate and Victorian architecture like a well-kept suit, each building a reminder of the merchants and dreamers who once walked the same streets. At the 1852 Western and Atlantic Depot, you can trace history all the way back to the Civil War's Great Locomotive Chase, a tale that proves Dalton's roots run as deep as its industry. And come fall, Prater's Mill Country Fair turns back the clock. Blacksmiths hammer at glowing forges, fiddles carry through the air, and Appalachian traditions roar back to life as if they never left. Dalton also knows how to surprise you. The Robert T. Webb Sculpture Garden unfolds across 5 acres, sculptures twisting and bending in the wind like conversations between art and nature. Meanwhile, the Creative Arts Guild, the oldest in Georgia, keeps that creative fire burning with performances, exhibits, and even its own sculpture park. And when you step beyond the galleries, nature takes over. Hague Mill Lake Park invites slow weekends with wooded trails, canoe launches, and fishing piers, while Copper Creek Farms turns golden each summer during the Sunflower Festival. Who says small-town charm has to come with a big city price tag? In Dalton, it doesn't. Median homes range from $190,000 to $220,000, and two-bedroom rentals average around $800 to $900 per month. And if Dalton is stitched together by threads, wait until you see the next city, built on 7 hills, each one carrying a story you won't forget. Number 2. Rome. Rome wasn't built in a day, and in Georgia, it wasn't built on just one hill either. The city rises on 7 of them, each carrying a story that feels bigger than the town itself. With nearly 39,000 people, Rome sits on where the Etowah, Oostanula, and Coosa rivers converge, braiding together like silver ribbons through the heart of the city. They wind past Victorian homes, leafy greenways, and brick storefronts, reminding you that Rome isn't just about scenery, it's about stories written into the landscape. At the center of it all is the Between the Rivers Historic District, the largest Victorian-era district in Georgia. Here, red brick facades stand shoulder to shoulder with grand homes, all under the watchful eye of the old clock tower on Neely Hill. Climb to the top, and you'll see the whole city unfurl beneath you. Stay to the ground, and you'll still feel something else, the sense that Rome holds more history than a town of its size should ever contain. But Rome doesn't just stop at the past. It thrives on learning, creativity, and imagination. Berry College stretches across a staggering 27,000 acres, the largest contiguous campus in the world. With Oxford-style stone halls, eagle habitats, and endless trails, it feels less like a college and more like a national park with a library. Beyond campus, Rome weaves history with fresh energy. Museums that tell Cherokee and Civil War stories, theaters showing international films, and downtown cafes that buzz late into the night with music and conversations. And then come the quirks, the kind that make Rome feel almost enchanted. At Kingston Downs, you can camp under the stars or hike river trails. On Lavender Mountain, you can spend the night in a black bear treehouse, a retreat that looks like it was plucked straight from a fairy tale. Guess what all this actually cost? A lot less than you'd think. Homes typically sell between $180,000 to $220,000, and two-bedroom rentals average just $750 to $900 per month. For a city that feels this vast in culture, nature, and history, Rome is one of Georgia's most unexpected values. But if Rome's 7 hills carry the weight of history, our number one spot tells a different story. A tiny town where trains never stop. Number 1. Folkston. Think small towns are quiet? Not here. In Folkston, the ground itself trembles as trains roar through. Dozens of them, every single day. With just 4,700 residents, this tiny southeast Georgia town has become world famous for one unlikely reason: the Folkston Funnel, a rail bottleneck where almost every train heading into Florida must pass. But this isn't just a curiosity, it's a pilgrimage. Rail fans travel from across the country to stand on the edge of the tracks, listening to whistles echo and feeling the vibrations as 40 to 60 trains thunder past daily. You'll spot everything from Amtrak's Auto Train to the legendary Tropicana Juice Train, all slicing through the same narrow funnel. The town leaned into the obsession too, building a railfan platform in 2001, complete with barbecue pits, Wi-Fi, and even a live radio scanner so visitors can eavesdrop on the engineers. And while most towns put a courthouse at their center, Folkston gives its 1928 classical revival courthouse a quirky companion, an old title once known nationwide, marriage capital of the world. Thanks to easygoing laws, couples once flocked here to tie the knot, adding a wink of heritage to the town's history of trains and tradition. Yet Folkston has another face: wild, haunting, and unforgettable. Just beyond the tracks lies the Okefenokee National Wildlife Refuge, 400,000 acres of swamp and wonder. Picture sliding a canoe into black glass water, passing cypress trees tangled in moss, herons gliding like shadows overhead, and alligators drifting just beneath the surface. Guided tours, kayak trails, and camping under the starlit skies turn the Okefenokee into more than a backdrop. It's a living, breathing story you'll never shake. Best of all, Folkston's charm comes without the big price tag. Homes usually cost between $150,000 and $200,000, while two-bedroom rentals average just $800 to $900 per month. Folkston doesn't need flash. Its magic is the rumble of steel, the whispers of swamp winds, and the charm of a town where affordability and eccentricity share the same track. We hope you loved exploring with us today. Up next, we've got another beautiful destination you won't want to miss. Thanks for watching.